The Excel Scenario Manager allows you to run multiple scenarios on a model. Best way is just to explain it. So let's say we need to buy a piece of equipment and one of the guys has got us a deal. That's the purchase price, that's the period, that's the interest rate. But now we all disagree because I think I can get it from another place at cheaper at different rates. We don't want to sit in the boardroom and manually change all three cells and then see what the answers are and then do the same again. So if you go to data, what if analysis, you'll see there's something here called a scenario manager. When you click on scenario manager, in this example we've already created three of them, being a current case, a low case and a high case. So we'll show you those just now. But if we want to add another one, I'm going to say add. What it asks is give us a name for the scenario. I'm going to say realistic. It then specifies what cells you can change, and by holding control down, so you can either highlight those or you can hold control down and click a number of other cells. So you can get to sort of 20, 30 input cells. When I say OK, what it does is it brings up each of those cells. You'll see it's brought up C1, C2, C3. And it currently tells you what's in there, the 150, the 7, and the 18%. I can now change it. So let's say I think we can get it for 125,000, but we'll have to repay it over 5 years. Interest rates will have to be 19%. When I say OK, nothing really seems to happen except we've now got another scenario here called realistic. What we can now do though is watch over here. If I click on realistic, you'll see there's a button here called show. Watch what happens here when I click show. What it does is it puts our numbers in. The model's obviously built with formulas, and so this now changes and that changes. I can then change to the current scenario. When I click show, you'll see that set of numbers, low, that set of numbers, and high. So let's go back to realistic. As you can see here, you can add another scenario, delete one, or edit one of them. The key button though for us is this one here called summary. Because once you've got all these scenarios, that's all good and well, but how do we now compare them to each other? So when I click summary, it asks you how you want to do it, scenario summary or pivot table report. Our recommendation is use scenario summary. And what you can see, the resultant cell. So Excel has guessed C4. So I'm going to just agree with it. I'm going to click on it. But then I'm going to hold my control key down and highlight these cells as well. So I want to know what happens to that cell and all of these cells when a change is made. When I say OK, you're going to see another sheet is going to be made here. So when I say OK, you'll see it runs. And what you've got here, it's created a new sheet. And if you look at that, you should recognize what it's giving us is what cells was it changing, currently what's in there, and then the scenario is called current, low, high, realistic. So you'll see there's our one realistic and the numbers we put in. And then it shows the resultant cells we highlighted and what would the numbers be in each of these scenarios. If you look at the actual numbers, you'll see that they're just values. So unlike data tables, this is not a live calculation. You cannot now go and change some stuff here and see what happens here. You would need to run it again. But once you have it in this format, it's relatively easy to now create some graphs to show what do we look like for our key outputs under these various scenarios.